Welcome to episode 6 of Seagull Eagle. So, what happened this week?
Well, Brighton had a fun day out at Wolves, took away 3 points and kept their European dreams alive.
Palace travelled to Spurs and had shooting practice for the FA Cup final. We're back in the studio again. Neil started packing his bags for a European tour.
And Andy's working out how to get a seat on an FA Cup celebration bus. Celebrating too early? Oh, I hope so.
All to come on episode 6 of Seagull Eagle.
Hello, Andy.
All right, Neil, did you have a good week?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you.
You look quite happy.
I look quite red. I've got quite a lot of sunburn at the moment. Thank you to my away day at Wolves on the weekend. Who thought Wolverhampton could be so hot?
You went all the way there, didn't you?
It was lovely.
Wow. And did you have a good day out?
I had a very good day out, as I am sure we will talk through in detail.
I reckon so.
How about you?
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday. I had a nice weekend thinking about Wembley, and Harry's all very excited about it, and we're prepping the day, which I'll tell you all about later. But yeah, and of course, I had another good result this weekend.
And are you still decorating?
Decorating's finished.
Thank God for that.
Well, it's not finished. I've just had enough of it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there we go. Well, shall we hear about your day out?
Wolverhampton Wanderers against the mighty Brighton Hove Albion. So yeah, beautiful sunny day, as I alluded to. I was in the Wolves away end. Well, I say end. It's at Wolves. It's strange, you know. That it's like an away side. Have you seen that? Like the whole bottom tier of one of the stands it's on the side of the pitch rather than either end or stuck in the corner. So
and you got home fans above you.
Home fans above us, but we've got the whole of the side as well. It's not like it's just one bit. So you can generate quite a bit of noise, which I think is a little bit of a disadvantage for people at Wolves, personally. I mean, Brighton are talking about changing their sort of away end because of that issue as well. So, but yeah, it was a lovely day. Beautiful hot weather. Got there within a couple of hours to spare, so I had time to go to the pub, have a quick pint, had a little walk around, and then got to the ground.
Can I ask, did you pick up any strays on the way this time?
No hitchhikers, or stranded fans. No, not this week, thankfully. Okay. And it wasn't us either. Our car worked perfectly, which is always good. So yeah, it was a good start to the morning. As I say, we got there nice and early. Got to the ground. Everyone in good voice, obviously, because the weather helps as well. It puts everyone in a good mood. Hoping to get a win at the Molineux, probably for the 4th time, I think, in a row. We've won the last 3 trips there, so in the league, that is. So we've done really well recently. So I was looking forward to it. I have to say, the fans there as well, Wolves fans, really good fans.
Were they welcoming?
They were. I would say one thing though. There was one idiot who actually got kicked out quite early on in the game. It started very early before even the game started, to be honest, but it was quite offensive chanting, the normal type of ones aimed at Brighton fans, if you know what I mean, gesticulating towards us and things. And the good news is the stewards were aware of him and got him kicked out. And you sort of laugh in some respects, don't you, and cheer when that happens, and you sort of point at him and all that sort of rubbish that goes on between fans. But the worst part, if I'm honest, was when he was kicked out, he was then also followed out by his partner and his 2 daughters.
Oh, that's shameful.
Isn't it? I don't usually talk about these sorts of things, because I appreciate football is an emotional game, but he really needs to be ashamed of himself.
Well, maybe this is the intervention that he needs. Maybe this is the moment that, the shame of walking up that terrace steps followed by his kids.
Yeah, I hope so, because there's a line somewhere there, isn't there, Anyway, look, I don't want to sour the moment. I want to talk about the 3 points we received from Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Can I just ask then, just from your perspective before you get into this?
Oh, yeah.
This is a game you needed to win, right?
Oh.
You know the maths better than me on Brighton, but correct me if I'm wrong. If you don't win this game, Europe's over. Is it? Pretty much?
I think pretty much. I don't. Yeah. I mean, it was. I think the point is that before this game started, you were looking at it thinking, we probably would need help from someone somewhere, one result somewhere that would help us. But if we do our job and we get 3 points here, then we're putting ourselves into the next week. We're continuing to give ourselves a chance. If we hadn't have done that, then we would probably be relying on too many teams to not get a result, if that makes sense.
I know that feels. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was must win, absolutely, especially knowing that you've got Liverpool coming up and then you're away to Spurs. You look at that and go, we have to win. Simple as that.
And he worked out how to do that the week before, which was handy, wasn't it? So.
Oh, his little smirk on his face.
Come on then, let's hear about your day.
Yeah, all right. So the lineups. I'm going to sound a little bit like Groundhog Day here.
Oh, here we go.
Well, there was good news. Lineups came out, and I saw a little Tariq Lamptey on the starting 11.
Oh.
An actual right back in the starting 11. I was so excited. Then I noticed a Mats Wiefer still in the starting 11, plus 2 other midfielders. So that started the head scratching, and I was like, well, maybe we're going to change shape. Maybe we're going to have 3 midfielders in midfield. How are we going to... Carrying on looking at the starting 11, no Lewis Dunk at all or on the bench. Totally disappeared.
Isn't that what you wanted to happen, though? In a really respectful way?
Ultimately, it is, and I'll get onto that in a moment. But the surprise, again, from the Thursday press conference that I think I'm just going to forget listening to now, everyone was fit, Andy.
Oh.
Matoma's now on the bench, though. There's no Dunk and there's no Veltman at all in the starting 11 or on the bench. So I'm not the only one. We're all scratching our heads going, what happens on a Friday at Brighton's training ground?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. There's some little black hole where people just seem to get injured on a Friday only. I mean, I personally, tell them to take the day off. It's probably a lot easier. So we're questioning what the shape's going to be or how it's going to work. But because there's no Matoma on the pitch as well, it's probably looking a little bit like Tariq Lamptey's going to play right wing or left wing and Minter's going to play the other side. So who knows, Andy? Who knows? Gets to 3:00 and they kick off. And then that tactical plan became pretty clear within the first 5 minutes. In possession, we were our usual 4-2-3-1 sort of look. But defensively, we were much more of a 5 at the back. Tariq Lamptey came back as sort of a right wing back as such. And Lamptey was covering Aït-Nouri, which meant then that Minte was on the left as well. So we kept these wide wingers that we'd done last week and the week before a little bit. But probably the biggest tactical change that I noticed was Mats Wiefer. Now, he was clearly right back, yes, but he was also clearly given the role of a good old-fashioned man-marking job.
Oh, interesting.
Rolling back the years.
Don't see that often.
We don't. So what they did was, because Lamptey was coming back and obviously felt comfortable being a natural sort of right-sided defender, what Mats Wiefer was given the task of was literally following Matheus Cunha everywhere over the pitch. Anywhere he dropped into any space, Mats Wiefer was there with him. It was really interesting to watch. And when the ball came to us, we got the ball, we reverted back into a regular type of shape that we would normally have. And Lamptey started bombing down the wing like any other winger. But when we didn't have that ball, Mats Wiefer would find Cunha and he would stick to him. It was fantastic to watch in some respects. So, you think about how Wolves try and play. Wolves are always going to try and get Cunha involved in everything because he's their best player. So man marking him caused them a lot of problems to start with. Anyway, I digress. So, generally the game started and both teams tried to go at each other for sort of the first 20 minutes. It was a bit messy though. There was a little bit of neither team really keeping the ball that well. A lot of pressure from both teams trying to pressurise everyone into losing the ball. It got to about 22 minutes and we thought, at least, Brighton had scored. Welbeck got on the end of a Tariq Lamptey cross. Just to sort of it was a really beautiful cross coming in from the right and he sort of got a little touch to it and got past the keeper. Now, we were jumping up and down and sort of ignored the fact that the linesman had put his flag up, very late, my ad. But it got chalked off for offside, not from Welbeck, but from Minter. And we were scratching our heads there live because you could never really understand what had happened.
I saw this.
Yeah, and so looking at it on TV afterwards, I do understand it. He wasn't offside in the sense of getting in the way of the goalkeeper, but he was offside in the sense of stopping Semedo from getting to the ball, possibly. So I can understand why he was given offside.
That's very reasonable of you, actually, Neil, to see that from, the other perspective, because it must have been a frustrating one, because them sort of non-clear-cut ones from the stands can really wind you up. But then when you watch it in multiple angles, you understand it. I mean, there are a few of them in our game. But
absolutely.
We'll
we will get to that. And absolutely. But at the end of the day, it was very obvious afterwards. I was like looking at it and it's like, yeah, fair enough. And it's easier to take when you score 2 other goals.
Absolutely.
So the good news is we didn't have to wait too much longer. It was 28 minutes when Wolves try and play out, and Matheus Cunha comes very close and to the goalkeeper to try and take the ball because he's getting frustrated because he can't get the ball further up the field. So he comes deep to take the ball from the keeper, only to find his shadow, Mats Wiefer, tracking him back. He's able just to nick the ball off him and essentially just takes it before he even gets a chance to control the ball. Mats Wiefer just jumps in front. Really well played, to be fair, from him, nicks it in front of him and then runs into the box. At which point, I might add, Cunha chases after him and makes a last-minute supposed tackle to take him out. It was given as a penalty, and so we're all up in arms going, fantastic. But, I mean, did you see it?
Oof. It was a tricky one.
From my point of view, I mean, I was just really surprised that he was only given a yellow.
Yeah, I would have said that what happened potentially should have deserved the red, but I mean, I don't know. What's your opinion, Neil?
Well, I suppose my point is he clearly, he's shocked by the fact that the ball's been stolen off him. He chases after Wiefer. When you see the contact that he makes with Wiefer, there is no way in the world he is ever going to get the ball. He's just diving in. He eventually, his foot hits Wiefer just below the knee. He's trying to trip him up. He's trying to stop him. I understand what he's trying to do. It makes total sense to try and stop someone from scoring a goal. But in his panic, I don't feel that was a genuine attempt to take the ball. Therefore, from my point of view, I think that's a red card. So I was shocked when he gave a yellow. Well, I wouldn't say shocked, actually. That's not fair. Seeing it first time, I can understand maybe why the ref didn't give a red. But we've got VAR, and I was expecting some other colour card to come out, and yet it didn't. Welbeck steps up from the penalty, very confidently puts it away, and scores his 10th league goal of the season.
He does.
Now, for the rest of the half, Wolves try really hard to pile on the pressure. There's a few little sort of moments where there may be half chances, I would say, but it never really felt too worrying. What I would say is our defensive line were excellent all day, and I dare to say we looked better without Dunk.
You did say.
I did say. A few weeks back, my swooping statement, and I'm sticking by it, mate. I really am. Then the half ends, and I get a welcome break from the sweltering heat as I duck into the stand to slow my sunburn and drink a gallon of water. The second half starts now. There's a little bit of pressure in the first maybe 15 minutes from Wolves, mainly caused by a few sloppy Albion passes, I would say, more than maybe Wolves really pressurising us too much. One of those situations happened and Cunha took a pot shot from just outside the box, but Verbruggen was equal to it. Really good low save to his left. Then the changes came around about the hour mark. So O'Reilly goes off and Lamptey comes off. The latter, by the way, looks like he's got another injury, Lamptey. And poor lad, he's just injured all the time. And, you know, he's out of contract at the end of the summer as well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with him. But it's not looking good for him. Gruder comes on for O'Reilly. Adingra comes on for Lamptey. And now that last substitution of Simon Adingra, I think that made the game open up a little more, as Simon Adingra isn't really a defender in any way. So he wasn't really a right wing back by then. So things have changed in the way that the game is playing out. And that gave a little more space to Ain't Nouri on the left wing back, and he had a little bit more success down that left side. I mean, luckily our back four, though, were really strong. So although they created a few more moments, let's say, generally speaking, the defence did really well against them. Fast forward, 80 minutes. We make another substitution. Minter's run his shot off completely. He's absolutely knackered. And they bring on Karo Matoma. So he only gets 10 minutes, Matoma, which is really interesting. He's clearly managing some sort of, I think he's got a back injury. So he's clear.
Say, surely there's a reason he's not starting.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think he's had a back problem for a while, and it seems to be now they've decided, obviously, they're probably just trying to choose the moments to bring him on, because obviously he's a match winner, and just try and nurse him through the last few games of the season if he's needed, really. So they bring him on at 80 minutes. Gomez comes on as well for Iyari there, just really to help maintain that level of energy of the pressing that we were doing on Wolves, so that really hard defensive work that was needed really just to stop Wolves. Then about 4 minutes later, Weaver wins the ball in sort of midfield right area, heads it to Adingra, dribbles through to the edge of the penalty box. I'm sure you've seen it on TV. Brian Gruder finally gets his first goal for the club. Dinks it over Sarr. It's just a beautiful, cute little finish that he manages to get through.
Little chip, wasn't it? I think
it was. It was a lovely little. Oh, I like to use the word dink. I love a dink.
Well, you're down with the kids, isn't you? I think that was. Correct me if I'm wrong, Neil. I think it was it like his 19th or 20th appearance for the club. Yeah. So he must be really, really pleased with that.
I think he's had a tough start. I think he's adjusting to the league slowly. He's starting to realise what's needed. I think the intensity for most young players coming from another league is quite a lot to take on. I think we see that. There's rarely young players coming from another league that just suddenly work and it all works out for them. I think it takes them a little while, especially on that physicality side.
Oh, it's such a different ball game, isn't it, with the physicality compared to the other leagues? Yeah, absolutely.
And you see it a lot, and I think we see it a lot, especially at Brighton, because we have so many young players. You've got to give him time. So, yeah, I'm really pleased for him. We had wild celebrations and relief, I suppose, in equal measures at the away stand. But it was a great result in that sense, and I'm pleased for Brian Gruder. As I said, he's got the under-21s tournament for Germany in the summer, so he'll get more game time there, and hopefully next season we'll see a lot more of him, because he's definitely
future. He
really has. He's definitely got some talent there. What I would say is the team yet again through that last sort of hour of the game really showed fantastic work ethic and cohesion again, very much like the Newcastle game. This time, yes, we'd scored the goals as well, but it was just a fantastic group performance overall. The final whistle blew. It was time to slap on the after sun, drive home with a coffee, some sweets, and 3 points on the back seat.
Oh, mate, that sounds like a wonderful, wonderful day out. So, Mats Weaver, he got man of the match.
Yes.
What did you think of his performance?
I think it's important for Mats Weaver to get man of the match. I think it was clearly a performance worthy of man of the match, definitely. I think it's probably a good way of explaining it that he's probably come full circle in his redemption arc. If you think about the home game against Wolves, that was the game where we were leading and Weaver broke with the ball. We had a 4-on-1 situation and Mats Weaver didn't pass the ball to the correct players. He chose someone in the wrong colour shirt and they broke back and they scored the equaliser late on in the game. And I mean late on, probably the last 30 seconds of the game. And everyone was quite emotional about that moment and quite unhappy, but obviously, and Mats Weaver clearly was distraught about the situation. But it's really good to see him come back so strongly over the last few weeks. Yes, he's playing out of position, and in some respects, that's even greater performance for him because of that. And I think when you look at how focused he was on Saturday, how strong he was, he stuck to Cunha like a bad reputation. He was absolutely on it. And his strength of character, I think, is really important for the whole team to look at and realise. So, absolutely. I mean, he literally, Cunha couldn't shake the Dutchman off his tail. In some respects, Weaver stopped Wolves from causing Albion any problems because of that. It was a really good performance. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't just defensive. When we had the ball, he made good use of it.
Yeah.
So, from my point of view, it was really pleasing to see him. It was really pleasing to see it. The Brighton fans that were there made sure they were clearly supporting him as well. Another 3 points. And, we're clinging on to a European dream just.
Yeah, well, look, you're still in it, aren't you? I mean, it pains me to say it, but you are. You're still in it. And it was your second clean sheet in 12 matches as well, that game.
I mean, we've never been a team to worry about a clean sheet, but actually this time of the season, it's really important.
Well, especially when goal difference could play such a big part. It's so close there, isn't it? And obviously 4 straight wins now at Wolves. I think it's a good game. And obviously when you look at the Wolves boss, interesting to see his views of the game afterwards. I quote,
go on.
"The team played with heart but not intelligence," describing the second half like tennis, back and forth but no control.
I agree as well. And I think that's a really good observation, because I think Brighton's level of work that they got through, the amount of running they did, caused Wolves quite a few problems. Yeah. Add to that the man marking on Cunha. They were a little bit devoid of ideas because of it.
I imagine that probably changed things considerably when they realised he was being man marked. Yeah.
I think so. And so my final comment would be, I've said a lot of things here, or I've asked a lot of questions of Fabian Hürzeler.
Yeah.
And what I would say was that Saturday was one of the first times I've looked at a game and thought he's had a real impression. He's had a real impression on that game, Fabian Hürzeler. He's made some really tough decisions, and they've come out and worked out for us. So, well done to him as well.
Oh, well done, Fabian. Neil's proud of you. There we go. And that leaves Wolves kind of thinking to themselves, what's going on here? Because obviously they had a little bit of a late surge, didn't they? They had 6 consecutive wins. In fact, I think they were top of the form table at some point in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And then they've now lost back-to-back games and slipped back down to, I think as we stand now, 14th, I think, with that kind of mid-table finish under threat a little bit now, actually. I think they were, I certainly thought, I thought they'd get some points out of you, and I'm not afraid to say that. I was wrong. I was a little bit surprised to see that, but there we go. Well done to Brighton.
Get in.
I hate saying that.
So should we talk about the other one? Should we talk about Sunday's game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
Neil, I would love to.
Go on then, mate. Hit me.
So, Palace went to Spurs, Neil, without a win at Spurs since 1997.
Really? 1997?
Yeah. So could this be the day? Spoiler, yes. Yes, it was the day, and I'll tell you all about it. Palace made 2 changes to the lineup from the previous week. Wharton is injured, but it's not bad. We don't believe. Potentially like an ankle ligament, sprained ankle, something like that. Hughesy came in.
Ankle ligament? I mean, that Andy.
Well,
hang on a minute, mate.
Just hang on. I've got some inside information on this one, because not only did Glasner say, I think he'll be all right for the final, or play some part in the final, where after it happened, I saw some footage on the social media after the game where he got injured. And one of the fans asked him while he was signing, because all the Palace players come out and sign after the games, win or lose, right? Because they have to get to their car, and the fans are in the middle of the door in the car. And he did say, he was like, "It's not a bad one. It pretty much went over on my ankle. It'll be all right. I just need to rest it."
Okay.
So we're not talking big injury. What we're talking is it sensible to play someone who has been injured next week when we play the big game, which we'll talk about later. But for now, Will Hughes came in. I am a massive fan of Will Hughes. I really am. And there's a reason that everybody shouts Hughes every time he gets the ball. In fact, when I first started going there a couple of seasons ago, I did wonder why everyone was booing Will Hughes, and then realised that it was Hughes as opposed to Hughes. There you go. But he's an absolute legend.
Yeah.
I rue the day that he gets sent off for all his yellow cards, because it does happen a couple of times a season. But I love the guy. And then, of course, my other dear friend Kamada was dropped for Lerma, which I believe was a tactical move in this game, and I thought it was a cracking shout, because not only did Lerma fit that style of play much better with what they were trying to achieve, but also bringing on Kamada later in the game had a bit of an impact.
Yeah, gotcha.
So there we go. So that was the lineup. Spurs, they made 8 changes Do you remember we spoke last week about my hope that they would do exactly this? And they did. Clearly saving all their best players for the next disaster. So let's talk about the game. The first 5 minutes, Spurs corner, we cleared it. We panicked a little bit for a second. Then we remembered it's this version of Spurs that we're playing.
Yeah.
And that was really apparent. They used to, I don't know whether it's a fear of playing Spurs in the past, but as I say, we haven't got anything out of them since 1997 there. It used to be a stadium you turned up to and there was an awe about it. There was a top 7 or 8 team, maybe better if they're having a good season. And it used to be a tough game. Now, there's almost a little bit of a, oh yeah, we don't have to fear these guys. Like, they are well beatable and they give you plenty of chances in a game. In fact, they gift them.
I mean, this season in particular, and last season, to be fair, I mean, the Postecoglou version of Spurs is so open that, you know, it's just so open that any team will have chances. Yeah. And then all it's about is, are you going to put them away? And can you stop them at the other end?
Yep. Well, let's talk about that, because then began the false starts, as I like to call them. Sarr scored from a quick break, engineered beautifully by Lacroix, who had a brilliant game again. Again, love that guy. VAR checked it, and Mateta's shoulder was found offside. No goal, Neil. This was how this game was going to roll out, was it? VAR intervening. Well, we'll talk about the rest of it later. Did you see that decision?
Yeah, I saw, because obviously now with the semi-automated, you get a lovely 3D picture, don't you, of the concept of how far someone is offside.
I was inwardly livid about this, because how have we got to a point where, I'm off, how have we got to a point where in modern day football, you got 2 feet in your own half, and you can be flagged offside?
Andy, come on. You know the rules. The difference is now that with the semi-automated, you've got a graphic, you've got something that is maybe a little bit more consistent, let's say, than a referee drawing a line and trying to look on a grainy picture. So at least now moving forward, we know that these things are going to be either onside or offside, and it's a little bit more definitive. Looking at that on Sunday, I mean,
it was his, mate,
it was funny.
Oh, it was his shoulder that was offside. Yeah. He had 2 feet in his own half. And
everything was in his own half apart from one shoulder and one arm.
This is the thing. Yeah, and I mean, my question is, how is that good for the game? Do you know what I mean? That's my point to this. And I get it. And I understand that there are rules, and I understand that if you open the rule book that somebody's written, yes, that is not a goal, because technically it is offside, and there's a new bit of technology that cannot, of course, be wrong, even though there's no actual chip in the ball yet, and it's not exactly sure when they kicked it and all that, and there is a delay. But if that's the rules, that's the rules, because one day it'll go against us, one day it'll go for us. My question is, I don't think that's good for the game, because what you're doing is you're creating more delays, you're taking more brilliant moments out of the game, and that's a goal that should have stood and should have been a brilliant moment, but once again was chalked off because of just silly, I don't know, just a silly situation. It didn't feel necessary.
I do understand what you're saying, and that there is an absolute tidal wave of opinion that is on your side when it comes to VAR, and how maybe it'd just be nicer just to have it without and just live with the mistakes. But you've got to think back to some of the biggest mistakes that refs have made, and how we were all crying for VAR maybe 5, 6, 8 years ago. So it's, it swings and roundabouts. Thankfully for you, mate, it didn't make too much difference.
It absolutely didn't. So at the 35-minute mark, we were on top, had the majority of possession, which is something that we don't normally have. In fact, we were all over the possession, and we looked like a proper team. We really did. And that's not my biased opinion. We did. We genuinely did look like a really good team. Shots were flying in from all angles. we were in control of the wings specifically, and I think that's where we kind of won the battles. And also in central midfield, I think from a wing point of view, Muniz was creating absolute havoc. Yeah. That guy was just a hell of a sign-in. I mean, he came in just at the end of Roy Hodgson's reign. And even when Roy signed him after the first training session, he had a press conference and he said, "This guy is going to be the future. He's a more attacking defensive player than we've ever had at this club." And I saw it on his debut. He was from one end of the pitch to the other. His stats. He covers the most ground in the Premier League by far.
Oh, he's unbelievable in that sense.
Averaging between 22 and 25 kilometres an hour in terms of speed. It's insane. And he's got such intelligence to find that space, and the way that Glasner approaches the tactics in terms of drawing the defence into the middle to allow him space on the outside really, really worked. And I think now with the Eze and Sarr and of course Mateta are all really knowing where everyone is now. We're getting to that point where you don't even have to look.
Understand now, aren't they? Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where Muniz plays next season.
At Palace, because he's just signed a new contract about 3 weeks ago. Actually,
we'll see.
100%. So he ain't going nowhere. Not unless there's a big deal, like we did with Elise, get him into a new contract and sell him for a silly amount. He's not going anywhere. They're having the time of their lives, Neil. So Muniz was creating havoc and crossing the balls in from all angles. Any attack from Tottenham was coolly handled by the defence, and they felt like they weren't panicked, our defenders. They felt like they were kind of in control, and we were in control as a team, but unable to find a legitimate goal at this point.
Yeah.
Finally, Neil, there's reason for celebration. LaCroix scored. Oh, no, he didn't. Got ruled out by VAR again. Gay, whilst watching LaCroix's brilliance, couldn't get out of the way. Came off his arm.
Yeah. It's another one of those, isn't it?
Mate.
It's the law, so it's frustrating because it didn't really have anything to do with the goal, but it's the law, so that's just the way it is. Disclaimer,
do not disagree with the decision. With the decision. However, again, ridiculous because Gay didn't affect the outcome of the goal.
No.
The goalkeeper had already gone the wrong way. Gay didn't even know it had happened. Yeah, it's I don't know. We end up creating these frustrating moments. Do you know why, Neil? Because we're pressing them hard and we're creating these frustrating moments for ourselves. We're giving ourselves these opportunities to be annoyed by VAR. And that's what I like about our games at the moment. They're exciting. Anyway, more target practice continues. Muniz hit the bar with a shot so powerful it's still vibrating in N17. Then, finally, I'm sat there. We're nearly hitting half time and I'm thinking, how the hell are we not 4-0 up at least? The Muniz Express rampaged down the right again and found Eze. What a game he had. And Eze tapped it in like a man who knows that he's saving all his stunners for Wembley, Neil. He's getting himself ready. 1-0 up, half-time, dominating.
Yeah.
To be honest, not a special goal from Eze, but in terms of his standard from previous goals, it wasn't like, oh, wow, a team goal in terms of how that created the space and when everyone arrived and everyone knew where they were. Brilliant. Yeah. Like, really well worked. So, 1-0 up, dominating. And now wondering if Spurs would like to join in and maybe touch the ball at some point. We're also wondering, at halftime, having a conversation with my son, thinking, how on earth are Spurs and Man U to this point in the Europa League final, sitting in 16th and 17th in the league with a shot at a major European trophy and struggling to get the ball off a Palace in the Premier League? It's absolutely insane.
It's a crazy season, isn't it, in that sense?
Utter madness. Utter madness. Anyway, Neil, back to the game. Right, we're going to move at pace. Second half, Tottenham start strong. Yes, they did, for about 90 seconds. Then we got the ball back and time for more shooting practice. Sarr gets the ball on the break, a 1-2 with Eze, and bang, 2-0. And look, at that point, most Tottenham fans were still finishing their half-time pints. In fact, all of them, the posh people in the middle who had all of their hospitality, hadn't even made it back to their seats. Probably a best thing they didn't see it, to be fair.
Yeah.
So look, for the rest of the second half, it looked like Palace were queuing up to score. And this sounds like a really harsh review. It is. But also, I think this is one of the it's one of the very few games that I watched with Palace over the years. I think the last time I saw us dominate games like this was when we absolutely annihilated Villa at the end of last season. And, we went on that insane run where we were beating everyone 3-4, 5-1. Yeah. And it was all about the wings, the centre, strong back four. And it just, all of it just felt like it had clicked.
XG-wise, sorry to jump ahead, but I think it's important. XG-wise, Palace got XG of 3.39, 3.4 XG. No penalties in there, nothing like that. No. That's actually XG from open play. They had 23 shots, 10 on target, 23 shots away from home. And as you alluded to earlier, 52.7% possession.
And I think it was like 35 touches inside their box. When you think about that sort of stuff, it's like we got the ball in their box like that amount of times. Mad.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Spurs at that point had one touch inside our box.
Yeah.
35-1.
Look, I'll try and be the voice of reason here, and because quite rightly you're excited by the performance, and it was a good performance. It was a very mature performance from Palace, but Spurs were definitely thinking about other things. The number of changes they made, they were all the reserve team. It was never going to be a gelled performance from Spurs. But I suppose what I was mostly surprised by was that no one even put their foot in. No one tried to get angry. No one looked passionate enough to try and do something to stop the tidal wave of attacks that were coming their way. And that surprised me. It was a team performance just full of apathy and nothing else.
Well, I think a positive. I tried to find a positive for Spurs in this review, really, when I was kind of thinking about it yesterday, and I think the positive was potentially their keeper. Yeah. Actually, he conducted a masterclass in goalkeeping. Actually, whilst the defence probably had a B-Tech in panic, is the truth. He kept him in it. It could easily, and I've heard non-Palace fans review this game and say that it could easily be in 5 or 6.
Oh, I agree.
Even if not more. There was woodwork here. There was balls flying everywhere. I think they were lucky to not end up in a complete mess.
I agree. I mean, I think last week on our pod we were talking at the end about next week's games, and I predicted 3-0 to you because I just thought Spurs were going to be completely useless, as they have been, and distracted. And it turns out I was wrong, because although it was 2-0, it probably should have been 4 or 5, let's be honest. So anyway, look, back to Palace.
Yeah.
Good result. Mature.
Well, I think I want to just quickly talk about Eze, if that's okay.
Go on then.
I've been quite critical of Eze, haven't I? Especially in the early days of this pod, because I don't think he has had his best season in the early part of this season for us.
I remember your swooping statement about him.
And I think fact, he didn't have a good start to the season. He really genuinely didn't. Fact, now he's actually had his best season for us in terms of assists and goals.
Right.
How quickly he's turned that round is astonishing. He's hit his form now, and he glided through that game like he was on roller skates. And I think now what this is, he's playing like he was playing at the end of last season when we had Elise in the team, who's just obviously gone on to brilliant things. Yeah. Eze's been involved in 7 out of the last 11 goals that Palace have scored. That's a mad stat.
So do you think, because obviously if you go back to what you were talking about, your swooping statement, which was only probably 4 weeks ago, probably something like that, 5 weeks ago.
5, probably, yeah.
What do you think was the catalyst, or what do you think has changed? Has there been any tactical changes? Has there been any team changes? Has there been something that's happened to him? What can you put your finger on anything that's just changed?
Yeah. For me, watching it, there's been a shift change in grafting
from Eze?
From everybody.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? And the off-the-ball movement and the off-the-ball pressing is what is panicking everybody at the moment when they're playing us.
Yeah.
Nobody even the most comfortable teams start to feel a bit nervy because they just don't have any time on the ball.
Yeah.
And we're quite comfortable not to have the ball and keep pressing. So with Eze, the frustration we had with him, if you remember, was when we finally got that ball back, he'd try and create a world-class moment which we didn't need to create. All we needed was a nice through ball or a sensible pass forwards, but he would try and take 3 or 4 people on. Now, I think from my perspective, he's able now to do the flicks, the tricks, and all the other stuff because he's putting in the graft and the people around him are putting in the graft.
Yeah.
And they all know where each other are. Sarr's hit form. Mateta's still flying high, who, bearing in mind, Mateta didn't start, he'd just come back for the Olympics. He was knackered. Eze had just come back from the Euros. Walton had just come back from the Euro. Oh, what it is to have all these wonderful players in these big international tournaments. But everyone just wasn't quite on their game. And I think now everyone's found their flow. Eze can be creative, and he does. He gets given that creative license to play in this lovely free way. And now he's not just about these flicks and tricks. He's putting in the graft himself, and he's given himself the ability to pull these wonderful moments off now. And the team around him and the tactics, as I said, where people are being either drawn out or drawn in, is giving him the space in the middle to really do wonderful things. So, yeah, I think he just had that, I don't know, like that I'm the best player on the pitch feel about him. And he was the best player on the pitch. No one can argue with that. He was simply brilliant. So, yeah, him and, of course, Muniz, who I've already mentioned. I think he didn't just cook Spence down the wing there. I think he ran a full tasting menu on him to be like starter of panic, main of twisted legs and a dessert of existential crisis. I think he had him all over the show. He had him in his pocket. And it's wonderful to see Muniz thriving again because I feel like he's getting the service now that he deserves. So, yeah, most of the Spurs fans are gone by 80 minutes, left with their sunburn. I think it was a really limp Son cameo at the end as well. Yeah. He did nothing when he came on. And the Spurs fans have got 20 league defeats to cry about on the way home. I mean, it's unbelievable to think 20 league defeats.
Do you know what's even crazier, really? Is that team could be playing Champions League football next season.
Honestly, or what's the other option? The Man United team who are sat, they won above them now? It's just absolutely unbelievable. But look, to summarise, it's our first ever Premier League double over Spurs. That's the history books. A record points tally. Do you remember we spoke about that? Equalised now, so we're now level with our highest ever points total. And the biggest thing for me was, we spoke about this last time when we were doing our predictions. Do you remember I predicted a couple of draws, I predicted a win, and then I predicted this win as well, and it was about momentum into that FA Cup final. We've got half the top teams in Europe now opening their checkbooks like hawks, looking at all our players, which I think is a really good place to be because it means we're doing well. Next stop, Neil, going to Wembley. But we're not just going to Wembley, we're going to Wembley believing we can win. And I do.
And that is Seagull Eagle Part 1. We'll be back in a minute.
Welcome back, everybody. Right, now it's time to have a look at all the other results. I think we've got a couple of games left now till the end of the season, so let's see what happened elsewhere. Starting off with Fulham 1, Everton 3. Back into winning ways is Everton.
Yeah, it was a good result for them, wasn't it? I wasn't seeing this one coming, I have to be honest. I thought Fulham were unlucky. I think Everton took advantage of a few very slim chances that they had, but Fulham, I mean, they've had a bit of a bad run recently now because of that. I think they're 1 win in the last 5, and it's not looking good for them, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got down here they've lost 5 in 8.
Is it that
league
many?
Games,
right.
Which is mad when you think about the fact that they were making a dash up the table, and obviously it's now a slow decline, hopefully, for all of us. And Everton, they've got 1 win in 10, so they'd be well happy about that.
And did you see the one little thing that I always like to pull out, something in some games here and there that you don't often see? We had a very rare moment in this game where the referee got called to the screen for a handball.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
And unlike every referee in the entire history of football, this one chose not to go with VAR decision and stick with his. I'm here for it, Andy.
As a Palace supporter, I wasn't aware that was an option. So there you go. And I mean, look, Fulham, bless them. I mean, that's 28 points they've dropped from winning positions this season. 28 points from winning positions. It's bad. Bless them. But look, their season's not over. We'll talk about it later, but it's not looking great.
It's not, no. What's next on the agenda?
Ipswich 0, Brentford 1.
Oh, man.
So people might be confused in this podcast because I seem to be rooting for Brentford and I'm not quite sure why.
I know why.
I think it's purely due to smugness because when a couple of weeks back, didn't we? We sat and looked at the fixtures ahead and the routes through.
Did our predictions.
We did our predictions, right? And for me, I didn't think it took a genius to look at Brentford's running compared to everybody else's and their form going into it. And I just thought, you know what? Out of all them teams, they probably look most likely to be doing all right. Also, I think they're an exciting team and an exciting prospect at the moment. They've got a lot going for them from all different angles on the pitch. Now, they got a point at Ipswich and they're looking really good for Europe now. And I think everyone's joining me in this, like the Brentford bandwagon or whatever you want to call it. They're 4 straight wins in a row. The first time ever for them in the Premier League, 4 straight wins. They're unbeaten in 6 since April the 2nd. And during that time, between April the 2nd and now, they played Arsenal, Chelsea, Brighton, Nottingham Forest and Man United.
Fantastic.
Not a bad run, is it?
It is. It is a really good run, I have to admit. And, I know I had my blue and white striped glasses on when I was looking at predictions. But I didn't see this coming from Brentford. I thought they were too inconsistent, but they've pulled it out the bag when it really mattered at the end of the season. And it is looking more and more now like they're the team to beat to get to that 8th position, which may or may not, have something on it, but we can talk about that in a moment.
I don't think it will, Neil. But 8 straight defeats at home for Ipswich as well. Imagine being a season ticket holder there. That's sad.
Well, it is, but then at the same time, it's Ipswich. It's their first season in the Premier League since, the 90s or 2000, something like that. They've gone back-to-back promotions from League One into the Premier League. I mean, they're dreaming anyway. And I don't think, although even the hardest of Ipswich fans probably at the beginning of the season were saying, we'll stay up, we'll be fine. Realistically, I don't think it's the end of the world for them if they go down. Well, because they're going down now, but I don't think it's the end of the world for them. They're a great club. They've obviously got some really good players there. They'll do absolutely fine in the Championship as long as they stay together. And that'll be the question really, won't it, for next season. If they can keep the team that they've got now, they'll be there or thereabouts next season. So I think overall for Ipswich, yes, okay, they've not had the results. They've played pretty good football. It's been nice to watch. And I know they'll be kicking themselves that they're not staying up. But overall, from my point of view, I think most Ipswich fans will be loving this time of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree. Southampton 0, Man City 0. Man City, they were not their usual selves again.
Well, no. It's interesting, isn't it? You're sitting there with your little grin thinking, what could be maybe for next week? And I get you. Looking at the way that they played and the frustrations afterwards, by the way. Did you hear the interview from, was it Diaz? The game was... it was drab. Man City had all the ball, obviously, but congrats to Southampton. Open top bus parade scheduled for the Bank Holiday Monday, I think, to celebrate 1 point against Man City. Yeah, they're not the worst team ever. We've been following this closely for quite a while, and I think, now, I can't quote this exactly, but the Southampton social media team put a classic up on their socials after that game saying... not this time, Derby, or something like that, which I loved. Look, as I said to you, Man City were not their usual selves. Even Haaland was back for this game, but nowhere near his best. They all felt like, I don't know, it felt a little bit like a script gone wrong. They were kind of flying in, the players, but just not where they were meant to be. Passes going awry. It just didn't feel, it wasn't clicking. Something didn't work. They failed to score now in 4 out of their last 11 league games, right? So that's 4 out of 11. That's unheard of, isn't it, for Man City? The previous stat to that was 4 in 55 games. That shows you how much of a different team this is right now. Andy's getting very excited about this. They're definitely... Look, I'm not saying we're going to, but they're definitely... Well, I am. But they're definitely... that was Neil spitting his tea out. Literally. They are definitely beatable. You're definitely going to beat them. Is that what you just said? Yeah, we are. And just before I get carried away with that,
Southampton, it's their third clean sheet of the season. They've now no Southampton player made a single tackle until the 18th minute. 18 minutes went by without a single tackle, and they failed to have a single shot on target in the whole game.
Wow.
Boring.
That is amazing.
So boring. There you go. Anyway, we move on. Bournemouth 0, Aston Villa 1.
I was expecting more from Bournemouth, I have to be honest. Only 4 shots on target that, from a side that are usually really attacking. It just didn't feel right for them. But, Villa, they're in a great run, aren't they, Andy?
Yeah, look, Villa are now guaranteed a top 7 finish. And I think Bournemouth's 5-game unbeaten run has come to an end. So I think, look, Bournemouth are going to be kind of looking back at that game going, it wasn't our day. We just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
And there's someone that is celebrating from Villa, though, because Ollie Watkins is now Villa's record Premier League top scorer, 75 goals. But do you know who he's taken that crown off of?
I do. I believe it was Gabby Agbonlahor.
Yeah. Talk Sport's very own.
It annoys me, to be honest. I always turn it off when I hear him.
He's funny. Should we move on to Sunday then?
Yeah, let's do it. Where should we start?
Well, Newcastle 2, Chelsea 0. Now, this was a big game, in terms of the outcome, right?
Yeah, really big game. Yeah, before it, you're thinking to yourself, 2 teams that are vying for Champions League football, practically on the same points, same goal difference, everything.
Couldn't have been closer.
It could not have been closer. But when the game started, there was quite a big distance between them.
Do you know what? The most popular thing that I've seen on social media in terms of repetitiveness, in opinion, is, if Newcastle played like this next year, anything is possible.
Really?
That's all I keep seeing.
Yeah.
Which everyone's just kind of, even the impartials are excited about the prospect of Newcastle challenging the Liverpools and, the Man Cities of this world now, which is just interesting.
It is, but at the same time, right at this moment, you could argue the reason why they're doing so well is because they haven't got European football.
You're absolutely right. Well, that would be Angie's opinion on the matter, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm just saying they've got a squad. They've had lots of injuries throughout the season, but it hasn't affected them as much because they haven't got so many games. Whereas if you look at it from a different perspective and say next season, yes, absolutely, they've got a team that could challenge for a title. I agree, all things being equal.
Yeah.
But all things aren't going to be equal next season, and it depends how they... There's a lot of talk about their PSR problems going away now and that they're able to spend money. So
well, I was going to say to you, all things are not equal, are they? Because
definitely
they've
not.
Got some nice Saudi money there that potentially they haven't been able to spend yet. So anyway, look, Chelsea went down to 10 men, didn't they? Jackson got sent off just before half time. So I think that that did affect the game, but. It
was a right red card, I think, as well.
There was no doubt about it.
Okay,
doubt, but obviously it had an effect on the game, right?
Yeah,
you go down to 10 men. Newcastle are now, they're so close to the Champions League now. Big game to win. They'll be well happy with themselves.
Yeah, they will. They will. And you think about their form going into this. It was hit and miss. They'd won 3, drawn 1, lost 1. From the perspective of Chelsea, it's a really strange team watching Chelsea. They're doing really well in the Conference League. Maybe that's their level,
I think it might be.
Anyway, let's move on.
Right. Man United 0. West Ham 2.
Sorry, there must be a typo here. West Ham scored 2 goals.
It's mad. It's absolutely mad. Look, for Man United, Ipswich and Leicester are the only teams United have beaten since the end of January.
Yeah,
Ipswich and Leicester.
It's unbelievable.
They've lost 17 games. I know every podcast I seem to just kind of get on this bus and have to take myself off it very quickly because we're not meant to be talking about them. But they've equalled their worst ever Premier League run in history, 7 games without a win. They break a new record every week at the moment.
All for the wrong reasons.
And this season's their worst Premier League performance since they were relegated in 1974.
Wow.
That's quite a statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Nottingham Forest 2.
Oh, yeah.
Leicester 2. Mate, Leicester scored a goal just to wind up Forest, just because they could. And I love that. Literally nothing to achieve by doing it. They've already lost all of their pride and dignity by going down. However, wonderful moment, because this is the part of the season that I love, when the teams that have got absolutely nothing to play for apart from pride completely and utterly ruin someone's day who does genuinely need the points.
And who was it that scored? Facundo! I'm not swearing, anyone.
Okay.
Facundo Buonanotte.
It's beautiful pronunciation.
Thank you. It sounds Italian, but it's not. It's Argentinian.
Wow.
The on loan from Brighton and Hove Albion, Facundo.
There'd be a link.
Yeah, Facundo Buonanotte, who I love, I have to be honest. I was sad to see him go out on loan. I understood it, but I really love this kid. I think he's got so much heart as well as skill that he wants to win so badly. And I don't know if you saw about 30 seconds, a minute before the goal, he had a bit of a set to with Ola Aina, the right back.
Right.
And Vardy came over, calmed them down. They moved on. And then literally 30 seconds later, Buonanotte sticks it in the back of the net. And if you look at his celebration, he doesn't run to the Leicester fans for a split second. He actually goes searching for Ola Aina and actually goes to try and get his attention. And the other Leicester team pull him away. Because he's looking for him. He's going to go and give it to him in his face. And that's what I love about Buonanotte. At heart, he is definitely Argentinian. He absolutely loves it. So, yeah, it was a wonderful little moment. Good little pass from Vardy. Great little jink from Buonanotte. And Forest.
Well, it's 3 defeats in their last 5 games. It's not going to plan for Forest. And the one... Apart from going 2-0 down and ended up with a draw, and they're now in 7th spot. I think there was a stat only a few months back where it was like they got a 92% chance of finishing in the
top 4 at the time.
4.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's just fallen off the edge of a cliff for them.
So where does that leave Forest? That leaves Forest in a little bit of a precarious situation, doesn't it? Because the point does mean that they've got European football, which is great for them. So they've qualified for Europe now because of that. So the lowest they can go is 7th.
Correct. But obviously, because Chelsea lost, they could have gone up to 5th. Right. Talking about a team who have had a phenomenal season, we go on to Liverpool and a team that haven't had a phenomenal season, Arsenal.
Wow.
Liverpool 2, Arsenal 2. So Arsenal came from 2 goals down to get a point.
Yeah.
And do you know Arsenal haven't won more than 3 games in a row this season?
Oh, really?
Can you believe that?
That's a hell of a stat.
They haven't won more than 3 games in a row this season, yet consistently throughout the season, still thought that they would win the title. You've got to win more than 3 games in a row to win a title, right? And I think my other talking point in this one, without getting into the game too much, was that it really annoys me this. Trent Alexander-Arnold was booed.
I found that unbelievable.
Utterly disrespectful.
I'm never going to tell other fans how to react to your own players. I get that. But from an outsider's perspective, well, you've just said that, it's disrespectful, it's outrageous. I feel the same way. I understand that there is a concept where you're thinking to yourself, he should at least sign a contract so someone wants to pay the money. But the other side of the coin is that player has the absolute right to do whatever he wants after being almost 20 years at that club. I mean, he was literally there from like 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yep.
And he's worked his way up. He's given you so many great situations and moments in his career so far. He's won everything with your club. He's been part of that. He's not just been on the sidelines. He's been a major part of you winning all those trophies. And you boo him. I found that quite shocking as well.
I see this as a situation where the Liverpool fans have surpassed themselves by winning the league, right? So they are having a wonderful time and it's a massive positive, but they've still found a way to let themselves down. Normally it's to lose the last few games of a season or get a draw against Palace and not win the league. This situation, it's that the fans just cannot get their head around the fact that they are not the biggest team in the world and that it's okay for a player who has done you brilliant service and worked incredibly hard to your benefit and his own, wants to move on. Simple as that. No disrespect should be shown to that player. And if you boo that player and you're in that stadium, you shouldn't be there. That's my opinion on it. It's that strong.
Like it.
Disgusting behaviour, Neil.
Strong
You
opinions.
wouldn't get that at Palace.
We'll move on, but no, I agree with you, Andy. tough words, but it needed to be said.
Hear, hear.
Oh, yes!
So, we've just discussed what happened in the league last week. Now's a time to discuss what's happened in the news this week. And I think there's one point of mention for Neil, which is that Brighton have just had their end-of-season awards, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So obviously Palace haven't had theirs yet, because obviously our biggest award is yet to come. But for you, tell me, what was the big news from that award ceremony?
Yeah, so it was on Wednesday evening. It's the normal type of thing, end of season awards where players vote for a certain player of the year, plus the fans do. There's other things like goal of the season. So goal of the season was Karim Atoma's masterpiece against Chelsea, where he plucked it out of the sky. It was like plucked out the tree like a ripe apple, and went past the defender, tucked it in the bottom corner. I'm sure we all remember that. It was an absolutely beautiful thing. The players' player and the supporters' player of the season was the same person this year, and it was Jean-Paul Van Heck.
I'm not surprised at that.
He's had a fantastic season, although it does always rings alarm bells for us as a Brighton fan. Most recently, because every time we have a player of the season, they usually disappear the next season.
What, I play for Chelsea?
Yeah, Cucurella, Caicedo, McAllister, Gross, all for different reasons, have left the club after winning the players' player of the season. So it's a bit of a running joke for us. So as soon as they were out and we saw the awards being given out, we were straight on the old social media saying, "Can someone please sign him up to a 10-year contract or something?" Yeah. But yeah, congratulations to Van Heck. Congratulations to Karim Atoma as well for goal of the season. The only other thing I really wanted just to pick up on, and you'll have to indulge me for a moment, Andy, because I just think it's a really important moment in the achievements of Brighton Hove Albion. There was a outstanding achievement award.
Oh, okay.
And the recipient, for who it was a shock on the night, he thought he was going there for something completely different.
Oh, I didn't know that. He didn't know.
He didn't even know. Was our beloved Dick Knight. Now, for people that maybe don't know Brighton Hove Albion that well, I'm not going to go into the whole ins and outs of a history lesson, but I'm sure just if I can indulge myself for a few moments. Dick Knight, he took over Brighton when we were at our absolute lowest. 1997, 2 games away from either safety or nothingness, the abyss, and probably would literally just go out of business. He took over from the then owners I won't even mention their names because we don't talk about them, who sold the club, who sold the ground, who made us homeless, all those sorts of things. 1997, he took over, and his wife, who passed away, her dying wish, her quote literally was, "Sort the Albion out for me." And that was literally one of her dying words. And how poignant is that?
That's amazing. I wonder if she knew what she said, like in terms
fantastic,
of what she'd started.
Yeah, so he bought the club, he took over, he had just such a huge impact on our club from where we were in 1997. You talk about 14 years of battles looking for a stadium, of 2 public inquiries, to different types of battles when it comes to trying to find money, trying to find stadiums, trying to find... I mean, he pumped millions of his own money into us to keep us afloat. He talked Fatboy Slim, Norman Cook into investing. There's so many different things, and in the end,
what did he say? He was like, "Can I have your money right here, right now?"
Wow.
No, okay.
To be fair, I wish I'd thought of that. That would be
Thank you.
Quite funny. Well done. He simply is the lifeblood of Brighton and Hove Albion. We wouldn't be here where we all are without him. So it was a fantastic moment for him to get this award. And they brought on to the stage a couple of ex-managers as well, in Mark McGee and Mickey Adams, told some stories. It was just lovely, just a wonderful moment. And to top it off, what they then said was that the award itself is going to be renamed to the Dick Knight Outstanding Achievement Award, for moving forward, and it will be a new award every year. It's a little something, but it's a little something for somebody who had a huge impact on the club. And I just wanted to take that moment to say thank you, Mr. Knight. You honestly have done so much for so many people. You will never be forgotten. So thank you very much.
Wow. A man in very high regard, regardless of what side of the fence he's on. He clearly did some wonderful things for that club. And now it's time for Winging It, where we have a look at the predictions for the week ahead. So we've got a bit of a strange week here now.
Oh, you have, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, some would say strange, others would say epic.
Some would say...
Are we allowed to get into that yet?
Some would say painful. Look,
Can I talk about it yet, Neil?
No,
Come
not
on,
yet.
please,
listen,
let me.
Listen,
Come on.
What we'll do, we'll keep this podcast strictly Premier League for now.
Spot the Brighton fan.
There's a bonus podcast though for all the Palace fans.
Yeah.
Coming out on the same time as this podcast. It'll just be on your stream exactly the same. It'll just be a bonus podcast, and
the Brighton fans can listen too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
If they want to.
I'm sure we'll get tons of them.
Good inspiration for them for the future.
Don't worry, guys. I'm going to be on the bonus podcast too. So I'll make sure that there's some sort of balance.
What goes around comes around.
Exactly. Look, for now, let's talk about the two Premier League games a little bit.
Okay, sorry, Neil.
From an Albion point of view, we're on the Monday Night Football this week, which, don't get me started on the timing of this game. I think that's horrific for Brighton's last home game of the season to have to put it on a Monday night when all the kids and everything want to see a lap of appreciation from the players or get shirts signed, anything like that. And
it's the same with Palace on Tuesday.
Good point. Yeah,
and it's like, so I've got a 12-year-old boy who wants to do the whole get your shirt signed thing afterwards. Exactly what you said, which is going to involve him staying up till 10 o'clock at night on a school night, and I've got to get him home from London.
Well, yeah.
But most importantly, the thing that's annoyed me most, Neil, they know we record this podcast on a Monday night.
That's ridiculous.
So why have they put the game on a Monday night?
Well, even worse. They also know that if we don't record on a Monday, we record on a Tuesday, and they put your game on a Tuesday.
Some would say they might be trying to stop this podcast.
Never. Anyway, Albion have got Liverpool.
Oh, yeah, this is the game that you seem really confident you're going to win, right?
No, it's just a game.
Actually, you are closer to your predictions than I thought you would be, right?
Thank you.
As in, I didn't see the decline of Liverpool at the end. You predicted it. Will you be right in this prediction, though, Neil?
I don't think it's about whether I'm right or wrong. I think it's about simply we have to win. But by the time we play on Monday night, we will know...
Oh, God, you will.
We will know whether 8th is important or not, because we'll know if Palace have won the FA Cup. If Man City win it, then 8th is up for grabs.
Sorry, can we just rewind a little bit here?
Yeah, go on.
Palace can decide Brighton's fate.
No, Manchester City can decide. Look, we're not talking about the FA Cup final. Stop.
I just wanted to
stop.
Make sure that was...
No, we're moving on until the bonus pod.
Okay.
My point is, more importantly...
You're going to work out whether 8 works or not for you for Europe.
And also, the other game that's happening that weekend is Brentford versus Fulham.
Right. Brentford are going to win that one.
So...
Yeah.
So my point is, with Fulham having lost last game, they have to win even more now. If they've got any outside chance, they have to go gun-ho and try and win that game, which isn't necessarily great from my point of view, but they have to win.
Okay.
Brentford, you're quite right, are in the box seat. They're the ones that are at the moment most likely to get 8th position. So by Monday night... because of the way that it's worked out, we have the box seat to know what to do, what we need to do. At least that is something good. We don't have to go into the game listening to another game, trying to work out what the results are and what's happening. We know that we've got Monday Night Football, and then we've got the opportunity of getting 3 points against Liverpool, which then takes us into the last game of the season, knowing again what we need to do. And I think that's... At the moment where we're sitting is we're waiting on other results because Brentford are ahead of us on goal difference. So we're constantly looking ahead of us, trying to work out what are Brentford going to do.
You're going to say looking over your shoulder then,
but
that's the wrong way.
It was the wrong way. So anyway, look, I digress. Point being, we've got a lot to play for. One other little point to note for the Albion game against Liverpool is when it comes to the actual players on the pitch, Pedro is back from suspension.
Okay.
Whether he'll get a game or not, I don't know. We'll soon find out how annoyed Fabian Hürzeler is with him after getting that stupid sent off against Brentford. Liverpool, I think they've had a good performance against Arsenal. I'm hoping now that that's enough for them. They've got up for the Arsenal game and now they're going back to their holiday destinations early, and we try and get 3 points against them.
I wish you all the best in that game. Yeah. So Palace have got Wolves at home, last home game of the season on the Tuesday.
And there's nothing really on this game, is there, anymore for Palace? The league isn't that important anymore now. With other results around, they can't get 8th, can they? I don't think.
I'll be honest with you, I actually haven't done the maths on that because I'm so confident we're going to win the FA Cup. I haven't actually bothered doing the maths in the league anymore. In my head, that's over now. The 8th. Unless I think there was a point last week where if everybody else lost, we could still do it.
That's basically where we are. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So they are 6 points behind. So everyone would have to lose.
Yeah.
And there would have to be a 12 goal swing. So, realistically,
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. So you're right.
Yeah. Can I ask you just to have a look at one more thing? Because Neil's got his phone at it, just looking at the league table. Is it still mathematically possible for Palace to finish above Brighton? Because that does mean a lot to me.
So points-wise, they're exactly the same as what I just said. They are 6 points behind Brighton with 2 games to go.
Okay.
But the goal difference, Palace are on -2, Brighton are on +3. So if Brighton were to lose both games and Palace were to win both games, there is a very good chance that Palace could finish above Brighton.
Yeah.
But at this precise moment, Palace are in an FA Cup final, and I honestly I can't see them getting up for this game against Wolves on the Tuesday night, no matter what happens in the FA Cup final.
I think you underestimate us.
Do
we don't forget, we're playing for the highest ever points total we've ever had in the Premier League. Every place that you can climb up is worth a lot of money.
Let me just check where Brighton, they're 9th.
Yeah.
Bournemouth are 10th. Fulham are 11th.
At the moment.
Let me just check who's in 12th.
Palace.
Oh, Palace, they're in 12th still. Yeah. They haven't moved from that position, Andy, for a very long time.
Done a lot of moving at Wembley recently, though. No, listen, with where Palace have come over the years, I'm quite happy at the moment with... happy? No, I'm not unhappy about sitting in that kind of mid-table, kind of not really got much going on thing, because do you know what? We've had an excitement that we've not really had before, which is... I watched a game the other week, Neil, and the commentator said the following statement. Palace are fighting for Europe on 2 fronts.
Oh, my God.
Right? That was actually said. It was a couple of weeks ago, but it was said, and it was factually correct. And I had a moment to myself and thought, that's been a long time coming, that statement.
Yeah.
So we managed to get ourselves in a position where we were fighting for Europe on 2 fronts. We're now only fighting on 1 front. You got 2 games to get yourself into Europe and a bit of luck. We've got 1 game and a lot of luck. So let's see how it goes. It would be lovely, though, if you lost your 2 games, we won ours, and we could finish above you as well. But let's see.
Yeah, let's see, Andy. Hey? Let's see.
Wolves game, really difficult to predict. I don't know how it's going to go. You're absolutely right, Neil. If we win the FA Cup, I'm just saying that. If we win the FA Cup, then we might bring the youth team out.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I would be very surprised if we did, though, it being the last home game of the season. I think that Glasner would want to finish on a high at Selhurst Park for that last game of the season, but I do think he'll give a couple of them a run out. I really do.
Fair enough. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been the Seagull Eagle podcast. As I said to everybody, don't forget, there's going to be a bonus pod coming out at the same time as this pod, specifically about the FA Cup final. Andy, anything you want to say?
Just thank you for listening. We are incredibly grateful to all of the people that have listened, and not only in the UK, we've got people listening in Australia, America, Spain, and all over the world, which is utterly insane. We've got people kind of talking to us on social media, saying how much they love what we're doing.
It's been great, hasn't it? It's been really appreciated. All the lovely support we're getting from everyone. We appreciate that it's a divisive subject, the Palace and Brighton fans getting together and having a conversation. But, it's just something that we want to prove to everyone that you don't have to be opposing fans and enemies. You can actually have a conversation and enjoy each other's company, to a point, that is, until someone wins the FA Cup at least anyway. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But until next time. He's coming round to it.
He's coming round to the idea now. Look, join us next week, and please do press subscribe so you're the first ones to listen when the new episode comes out. Join us on social media and see all the content on there. And I'll see you waving my flag, wearing my hat next week. Seagulls!